How is the guitar like therapy or music therapy for you? Like,
I think that music is incredible therapy for musicians and non-musicians because it's a universal language, and especially guitar, I think, because I think a lot of times music with lyrics, which is what 99% of music is, people think about music or any songs, whether it's pop songs or rock songs or anything, they think of songs with lyrics that they understand. But if you think of an instrumental guitar song, which is what I do with my solo music, it transcends any language, and it transcends, anybody from, from any country, any language, anything. Like, it transcends all barriers, and I think that's really special.
hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or loved one, maybe you're actively in recovery a little while or a long time, you're going to find all kinds of topics and information related to addiction recovery, really living a happy, successful, sober life at Recovery Today. My name is Rob Hanley, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today. And as usual, I have got another guest that I'm super excited about. She is a badass in the truest sense of the word. She's a rock guitarist, and in fact, she is rated by the prestigious Guitar World as the #4 guitarist of the decade. When there is such a thing as rock tours, which we're kind of in the lockdown mode here of our Corona land, she's a touring guitarist for Alice Cooper. She's regularly featured on covers of Guitar World, Guitar Player, and others. Lastly but not least, she has over 5 years of sobriety. Welcome, Nita Strauss.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is really fun for
Hey,
me.
I appreciate you taking time, man. I'm checking out your Instagram. You're all over the place. We're messaging back and forth. I'm like, God, just looking at one of your guitar riffs, and which was insane. And then you're also like fully like into the fitness world and all the kind of stuff like that. So I appreciate you jumping on.
Oh, thanks a lot. This is obviously a subject that's near and dear to my heart, so I'm excited to get a chance to talk about it.
I think it's like the most important subject really that there is. I mean, you're talking about something that's life and death and quality of life, mental health.
Absolutely.
So why don't I tee it up, kind of like I usually like to a little bit. And for those, I got just this 2 sentences of a kick-ass bio. You're beautiful. People are be like, wow, like #4 of the decade, which is really intense. And it's not even like rock guitarist. It's all these things. But then I'm like, so for those that don't know you, like, let's kind of kick it off and tell everybody a little bit, one room log cabin, born, all the kind of stuff like that.
Well, I'm Nita Strauss, kind of the opposite of the one-room log cabin. I'm born in Santa Monica, California. Grew up by the beach. Um, Born and raised here in LA, and basically just a product of the super competitive music scene here in Los Angeles. I started playing shows with my first band at age 13. I started touring 2 years later at age 15. Since then, I've played, except for this year, to over 1 million audience members every year for the past several years. I have my own solo record. I play with rock legend Alice Cooper. I have my own signature Ibanez guitar and signature pickups. And I also do a fitness challenge called Body Shred, which is a fitness challenge aimed at getting our rock community more into health and fitness. And I have
Which we need now for the Rona body, right?
exactly, the quarantine 15, we're sorting it all out. And then I also have an online guitar course, which is Nita Strauss Rock Guitar Fundamentals. And that basically takes people from absolutely nothing, like never picking up a guitar before in their life, all the way through their whole guitar journey. And that's iwanttoPlayGuitar.com. And that's what I'm up
So
to.
badass, man. That's so
That's
badass.
the best URL ever.
Yeah, you're into fitness and you're playing guitar, but then there's like, I forgot about the guitar, the full-on guitar academy and the fitness challenge and all this stuff like that. So before I kind of start getting into like your sobriety story, we kind of lay down the nitty gritty, if that's kind of cool, whatever it would be. But I'm just wondering about how somebody starts touring at age 15. Like, do you emancipate? Like, how does that work out with like your parents? Cause I've heard it we had another rock star on the other day. He's like, yeah, but his was like, I just took off, man. Like, is that what yours was?
Oh no, mine was the complete opposite. My dad was a musician who married a model. So they both understand the lifestyle. My dad is a seasoned touring musician. They both understand the lifestyle extremely, extremely well. So they've been really supportive of me. And I think it was that support that made me feel like I could go out and do it at such a young age. Being a girl, being a female out there on a national tour, it's really intimidating. And I think just having that support and knowing that my parents were like, yeah, go do it. We're rooting for you. They let me drop out of high school early to pursue touring full time. And they've always been really, really supportive.
Right on. Is your dad a guitarist then, or does he just play everything, or what?
He kind of plays a little of everything. Yeah. He's mostly a bass player, but he taught me how to play, my first few guitar chords. He plays a little bit of guitar, a little bit of drums, a little bit of singing.
And how old were you when you started playing? Like 2 or something, I'm assuming?
I was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was 12. I started playing at 12. I played my first show, I think, like within a few months. I wasn't any good. Like, don't mistake me saying that I was playing shows for being any good. But I played my first show a few months later and just completely fell in love with it. And I just knew literally like from that moment that that's what I was supposed to do with my life.
How actually, this is kind of a question. If I don't ask it now, I'll forget, because it probably should be something after I kind of get a little bit into your recovery story and all that kind of stuff. But how is the guitar like therapy or music therapy for you? Like,
I think that music is incredible therapy for musicians and non-musicians because it's a universal language, and especially guitar, I think, because I think a lot of times music with lyrics, which is what 99% of music is, people think about music or any songs, whether it's pop songs or rock songs or anything, they think of songs with lyrics that they understand. But if you think of an instrumental guitar song, which is what I do with my solo music, it transcends any language, and it transcends, anybody from any country, any language, anything. Like, it transcends all barriers, and I think that's really special.
it really is. We've had a number of different, had Wes Gear on and some other people like that are really into the whole brain kind of thing. Like, they'll go into rehabs, and at first they would play, and he's explaining it lights up things in your brain, and then you get people involved. And I just see it as something like you feel differently when you're kind of like channeling all that energy of music. It really
Yeah,
really influences you.
and there's something like really cool too about, especially as a musician or a learning musician, you have that feeling and sense of accomplishment when you're practicing and you're getting better, even if it's just in small increments, like one little bit at a time. I think it's a really, really valuable feeling as well.
So how old were you then? If you started playing at 12, how old were you then when somebody was like, damn girl, like, you're really good? Because
like 35. No, I'm not even 35 yet. I'm 33 now. I don't know. I mean, I guess people will always be telling you that you're great, and then on the other hand, people will always be telling you that you're shit. So, I've never really differentiated between those two. I always have just sort of put my head down and tried to go by my own gauge of where I was at, rather than listening, because I don't think there's anything productive that comes of listening to your own hype and believing your own hype of people telling you that you're the best, you're this, you're that, or from people telling you like, you suck, this isn't for girls, you should never even attempt to do this, like, leave this in the boys club. So there was nothing, even at a young age, there was nothing productive for me about listening to either side of the fence. So I just kind of did my own thing.
I like it. I like that a lot. So you got 5 years sober.
Yes.
And congratulations. That's really, really huge.
The finest accomplishment. Until next year, then it'll be 6.
Nice. So take us a little bit through kind of that kind of journey. When did you start? What was it? Was it, weed, beer, what was it? And kind of, where did it go?
Yeah. So when I started playing shows really young, I was lying to everybody about how old I was. And so I thought the best way for everyone to believe that I was older was to start acting older. And the best way to start acting older in an older crowd was to drink with everybody. So like, I remember very, very vividly, kind of going to house parties and people saying, you want a beer? And going, sure. And I had never had a beer before, but it seemed like the thing to do to sort of like keep my cover going.
Mhm.
And
And what were
once
you,
I
about
got,
15 or 16 or something like
oh, I
that?
was 13, not dude, 15. I was already on the road. 15, I was like already in
You
it.
looked old. You actually looked older, and then it's like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll have sure.
Yeah, exactly. I probably didn't look as old as I thought I did, but that was a kind of a good way for me, at the time in my naivete to go, yeah, this is how everybody will believe me. If someone goes, oh, do you smoke? I go, yeah, I'll have a cigarette with you. Yeah, I'll have a beer with you. No one would really assume that a 12 or 13-year-old is going to just be like, yeah, I'll take one, you
Yeah.
know? So that was sort of how I fell into it. And I was an awkward kid. I didn't have an easy time making friends. And the two things that made it easy for me to make friends were music and booze. It was like so easy because when I get on stage and play guitar, then that's easy for me. And that kind of gives me something to talk to people about. And I can talk after the show and it's a whole thing. And then I would have a couple drinks and I would loosen up and I would be really social and, everybody would laugh at my jokes. And so I just sort of fell into that crutch. And I toured professionally for many, many years I didn't really realize how much more serious my alcohol problem was getting. And I dabbled in, some other stuff as well for, a few times and kicked it. But alcohol was always my main vice because it was just seemed so harmless. It just seemed like, oh, this is the thing. You have a beer
So
before the show.
interwoven. It's so interwoven into our society too. Like it's, it's
Yes.
almost awkward if you're not doing that.
Yes, my best friend is sober as well. She just had her 2-year sober birthday. Happy sober birthday, Laura!
Nice.
And
The one that I see on Instagram with you, by the way, there's a cool post, and you're like, "We started way back and nowhere." Is that the one? I don't know.
different friend,
All right.
different friend. I have two very close friends. One who's a musician and one who's not. My close friend who's not a musician is the one who's on her sobriety journey.
Cool.
But she and I talk all the time about this sort of like, especially the girls and wine culture, which is like, it's sort of pervasive in this society and not just in music, because you're right, it absolutely is in the music industry. It's really odd to not be having a beer after the show or have a bottle of wine with the guys or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like the moms and wine kind of culture, like, oh, mom has to have a glass of wine after a hard day, with the kids or whatever. They have all the t-shirts. What is it, like wine now, wine tomorrow, or
Right.
whatever. And it's so odd because it glorifies this trait that is not for everybody. It's for some people, but not for everybody.
Yeah, I totally get it. But the thing that's interesting is, besides it kind of being normalized, like in our culture, is the thing I find so amazing when I talking to sober rock stars is when people go see you, they're partying, especially when it'd be one thing maybe like if you were like, I don't know, like if you were into some kind of classical music or something like that, or you played in an orchestra, still a
Right.
musician, but like a hard rock. I remember going to concerts when I was in high school and seeing, Eddie Van Halen come out and he's got a big, bottle of Jack Daniels. And he's like, I forgot the
Yeah.
fucking words, or whoever, David Lee Roth, whoever it was, I forgot, but because I was wasted too. But it's so part of the whole culture. And I
Yes.
find it even much more so when somebody is in your profession and you're sober, because it would be just snap your fingers and it's anywhere from anyone.
What's really interesting though is more and more these days, the culture backstage at shows is so much less about the booze and the chicks and the drugs, and everybody's exchanging like smoothie recipes and workout tips, and it's so uncool, like from a fan perspective. And I see fans every once in a while, like, because I'm friends with a lot of sober musicians, and we'll go on each other's Instagram and exchange tips, and fans will comment and they're like, I remember when you guys used to be cool and people, you guys, it used to be fun. And now, we were on tour with Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx would come into our dressing room and we would all drink these green juices together, like spirulina and stuff. And it's like, wow, this would have been totally different so many years ago. And Nikki would pop his head into our dressing room and be like, hey, you guys got that shit? And it was a spirulina drink. Like it's a wellness, it's like a green drink that we would all drink together. And the joke on that tour, we called it the highway to health.
Highway to Health. I like
Highway to health. And we were all working out together and, getting our cardio in and, talking about smoothies and, different types of bottled water, like who prefers Fiji and who prefers Pellegrino. If you're like me, you can't tell the difference. And it's just, there's a good, healthy culture in a lot of rock and roll now. Not all of it, but, a lot of the rock and metal world has a really good, healthy culture now.
A lot different than a lot of people would think, is that because that's my mindset is like, oh, it's everywhere, man. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is a lot different. And what people don't realize too, people that don't do this for a living, is it takes a real toll on your body. Just touring without being fucked up takes a huge toll on your body. And so to be able to now do it, with a clear head and clear mind, and then also just with all the physical, the benefits that I'm getting from being sober now, being able to wake up and go to the gym in the morning instead of being hungover and tired. I mean, it's huge.
It is huge. So when did you start realizing that you had a problem then?
I think I knew for a long time. I just didn't care.
I was like tell you, or just started missing shit, like missing a point, stuff.
See, I am a super, super highly functioning addict. No matter when it was drugs or alcohol, like I am never late. I never miss shows. I never miss appointments. I never oversleep. Like I can function really, really well under the influence. And that is probably why it took me so long to get sober, because I was having such a great life. Like I was in it to win it. Like professionally, I was on point. But personally, my whole life was sort of spiraling. I was gaining a lot of weight. I was fighting constantly with my boyfriend. The only friends I had were kind of like drinking buddies. I didn't have any real personal relationships. It was just sort of like people that I hung out with to get drunk. And so that was when I started realizing how unhappy I was. And it sort of came to a head. It was my boyfriend, Josh, that really, like, it all came to a head. And he was like, look, if this is the path that you're going to go down, I can't support you in this. If this is how you want to be, like, I care about you, but I can't watch you do this.
Is he without his information, without his, anonymity or whatever, but is he in a program, or is he a normie, or what?
Normie. Yeah. He can very happily go out and have some drinks. I was with him and a bunch of mutual friends watching football yesterday. Everybody was having beers and having glasses of wine, and I was there drinking my hibiscus LaCroix, which I'm obsessed with this flavor now. And I'm now at 5 years, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But he's not really the type to like drink and have it completely change who he is, which a lot of us are. Mm-hmm. And he just said, look, I can't, I care about you a lot, but if this is how you want to be and this is how you want to live your life, I need to see some change from you, because you're better than this. This is not, this is a side of yourself that you don't need. And at that point, it was basically like, without saying it, he was basically telling me to make a choice between the booze and the relationship with the person that I loved. And when it was that cut and dry in front of me, it was a really easy choice, because there was nothing that I cared about in life more than, this is the man I want to marry. This is the person that I love. I want to have a family with. And when I thought about it in black and white in the middle of my hangover, I was like, this is the worst. There I am hungover. I'm about to play, we were in New Orleans. I was about to play at the arena that night in front of, 30,000 people. And I was just hungover and miserable and tired. And, the person that I loved was telling me that I was going to lose him and keep feeling like that. And it was in that moment that I was like, well, nothing's more important to me than getting my life on track. So that was September 5th, 2015. And I never went back to it after that. And it was the worst. I hated every second. I was dragging myself, kicking and screaming through my first year of sobriety. I was on tour the entire time.
Did you cold turkey? Did you rehab? What did you do?
I was on tour the whole time. I had no support. I had nothing. I'm way too shy to go to
12-step. You didn't even 12-step?
No, because I'm too shy to go to meetings alone, with people that I don't know. I was in a different city every single day. I had no sober friends. I didn't know anybody at all to turn to, but all I knew was that if I went back, then I was going to lose everything that was important to me. And at some point I would have started messing up, like just because I said I never was late or I never missed lobby call or I never missed a show doesn't mean that it would have never happened. It just hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So I just threw myself into making myself better. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it worth it. So I started working out. I lost 50 pounds while on tour.
50?
50 pounds. I started my fitness program.
How tall are you?
5'9".
Okay, so you're tall.
Yeah, no, I'm tall. 50 pounds is a good bit, but it's not like half my body weight.
It's still huge. That's a lot, man. Wow.
Yeah, and the majority of it dropped off. It was like my body thanking me. It was like my body going like, oh, like finally, like you're ready to do this. And I feel like God at that point in my life just said to me like the same thing I just said, like, okay, are you ready now? You're ready to stop messing around. And everything in my life changed, and doors that I had been like kicking on for years started to open. I started getting in these positions where I could really use my platform to make a real difference in the world rather than just be a guitar player that has a big Instagram. Then I could actually be somebody that makes a difference in people's lives. I got my signature guitar, the first girl to have a signature guitar with Ibanez. I got to do so many guitar clinics and, teach my master classes and talk about my technique and sobriety and everything all around the world. And it's just been a huge, huge blessing ever since.
I love that. I like to go kind of deep a little bit on kind of some of the heavier questions. And the first thing, like when you just said, a second ago, like, I don't want to just be like a guitar player that, has a big Instagram. I want to do, I want to do X. Like, so I find it really, I think that we are all really alike kind of in this kind of mindset, because I have this insatiable, like, burning desire to do, I get it out like through service or something like that. But like, what's your highest kind of calling? Like, what, if it's not like, yeah, like I want to be a great guitarist and have a huge Instagram, make a lot of money. Like, what is it?
Like that's the surface stuff.
Yeah. Like, what do you want? Cause you're pretty different person, man. Like, what is it that you want?
I think there are a lot of stigmas in my scene, in the rock scene, in the heavy metal scene, and in the girls in music scene that are old and outdated, and they need to be broken. And so one of the first ways that I did that was by starting the Body Shred program. And the fitness challenge, it has helped literally now thousands of people not just get sober, because it has helped a lot of people with their sobriety journey, just as a sort of a side effect of wanting to lose weight. They say, well, I'm going to cut out, it's a 3-month challenge. And they go, well, I'm going to cut out the booze for 3 months. And I always tell them, do a month, do 30 days. And we have a Facebook group. There's a big support system, a lot of people in there in recovery. And I said, look, just do 30 days. And if at the end of the 30 days, you still feel like you need to have a beer, then have a beer. But just see if you can.
That takes all the pressure off, though, too, right?
Totally. I think a lot of people go like, I can't be sober forever. And I remember one of my first days of like real sobriety, back in that September of 2015, I remember crying to Josh, my boyfriend, going, what about when we get married? Can't I have a glass of champagne? And it's like this like weird arbitrary ideas. Like, who cares if you can have a glass of champagne at your wedding? Just because I drank more than my fair share of champagne back in the day. Who cares? And you get these sort of arbitrary ideas. So that's why I always tell people in Body Shred, do 30 days and see if you can do it. And by the end of that 30 days, they're going, well, I don't really miss it at all. I feel fine. This hibiscus LaCroix is great. Like, I need to get a LaCroix endorsement. Or, and then we have people getting off antidepressants, lowering their A1C. Anything, whether it's something as small and good for your mental health as fitting into a pair of jeans that didn't fit before, or, anything like that. I think it's just a really, really healthy way to take control of your own life and your own destiny. So that's
what role does like fitness play in your mental health? Like, in terms of like, for me, I like to go to the gym pretty much almost every day. It was really tough during the Rona. Where I live is still, largely locked down, and everybody's wearing their face masks and whatnot at the gym. But and there's, they got to stop it and clean it. But I'm just grateful that at least it's open a little bit.
Yeah,
but
you guys are lucky. We still have no gyms here in California.
Wow, God, that's just insane, man.
The worst. And now we have all the fires, and it's too smoky to work out outside. Yeah, it's terrible.
Just terrible. But what I was gonna, it is terrible. That just breaks my heart. But I would tell people, and actually it was my wife going, no, like, you need to go to the gym like she'd ask me, did you go to the gym today? In fact, I really haven't worked out today. I probably need to go on a run or go do something.
Right.
But she would say, no, you need to, because although I've been sober for a long time, like one of the challenges I've had is just, depression, anxiety, and things, just, stuff wheeling around in here. And when I release endorphins through sweating, and just even that kind of that muscle soreness, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's the whole kind of like it makes you feel like you're accomplishing things. Probably the same as like when you're losing weight. But what role does your fitness stuff have in your mental health?
Yeah, totally. It's just exactly what you just said. And as somebody in recovery, you know what role your brain chemicals play in your mood and how you're feeling. And that release of endorphins when you're working out, as somebody who likes their endorphin release, it goes a long way. And the lockdown has been really tough for me as well, because I've become a total gym junkie. I say very often in interviews that I traded one addiction for another. And I have been having a really tough time not being able to feel. I get cranky, and then
you get cranky.
I do get cranky. And then I like to run outside in my neighborhood, but I live in the middle of Hollywood, and now it's really unsafe to go for a run around here. So it's been tough. Lockdown has been definitely very, very tough on me.
You have a gym like in your house there where you're at? It's right there.
No, we don't have anything. Can you excuse me for just 1 second? I've got to go let my boyfriend in. 1 second. All right, I'm back.
Through the magic of editing, we'll just edit all that out.
Awesome. But yeah, I think that having a way to have not only that rush of endorphins, but having that feeling of accomplishment, like you said, for me, I like to have a streak of something going, which is another reason that I haven't had a drink since September of 2015. Because if I have one, then I will have broken the streak. So if I can get into a good routine of working out every single day and like kind of checking it off the list, I think that's a really, really healthy perspective for somebody in recovery to have as well.
What kind of thought process do you have in terms of like you're not the same person today than you were yesterday, in terms of like redefining yourself? Like when I stopped, it was like I would tell people, I mean, all my friends partied. Sure. And it was after college, I was working in the corporate world, but we had good money and I was single and we'd go out and drink and stuff like that. And for me, I kind of just became less available to be around that. I didn't want to have to. And then eventually, I just, for me, I made it not a big deal. And I started to redefine in my mind, like I'm a person that I don't drink,
Right.
What are your, in terms of redefining who you are? So now you're thinking like, I'm going to get married and I'm not going to have any champagne, but then does it even really matter because you're a person that doesn't drink?
Exactly. James Clear has an analogy in his book, Atomic Habits, where there are two people who are offered a cigarette. And one person says, no, thanks, I'm trying to quit. And the other person says, no, thank you, I'm not a smoker. And the difference in those two mindsets is astounding.
Yeah.
So as soon as you stop thinking of yourself as someone who's trying to quit and start thinking of yourself as someone who doesn't drink, I think that's the real key, because
really big, isn't it?
A lot of time saying like, oh, no, thanks, I'm not drinking today. Or, I'm trying to cut back or something like that. But as soon as I said, no, thank you, I don't drink, that was sort of where that mindset shift happened. And it was never easy. It was, and literally like yesterday watching football with friends, I was glancing over at the beers that everybody was drinking like, man, that looks really refreshing.
Yeah, my wife
need. Yeah. It wasn't that overwhelming need of like, I need to have that. So I need, like, which I did used to experience that more at the beginning, but it was just sort of that, like, that still like why everybody else and not me feeling. And that might not ever go away, but I think that redefining of yourself as the person that you want to be is the key.
So then for you, and most of the content in recovery today is, I would say, is abstinence, 12-step based. It's not about tapering or anything like that. No. And then there's a lot of substance abuse, and then there's even non-substance abuse. There is, eating disorders, porn, the whole gamut. Absolutely. But so you wouldn't define yourself obviously then as what are your thoughts then, I guess I would say, on a 12-step program or versus a non-12-step, or what kind of conversations do you have with people like that when they're asking about meetings and things or whatnot?
I think it's amazing. I think having a support system probably would have been really helpful for me during that time. And really the only reason why I didn't do it was because I'm just too painfully shy to go try something new with no friends.
So if you
And
had a friend that was, what would you advise your friend? I always tell people this. I would tell them, if you can go to a rehab or treatment or take 30 days out, for sure do that. Do this, do that. What would I guess one size doesn't fit all, but in general, what would you say?
I don't think you're exactly right. I don't think there's one approach that's right for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think if you're able to stay as much in your normal routine as possible while continuing to abstain, I think that's really, really valuable. Like one of the first things that I did within a month of sobriety was go out to the bar where we used to all watch football, and everybody,
Who's your favorite
everybody
team,
was
by
at,
the way?
sorry?
Who's your team?
Oh, I'm from LA, so I'm a Rams girl.
All right.
And
Wait till they play the Seahawks. They were pretty good last year. I have to say the Rams pretty good. I don't know how good they'll be this year.
We'll see what's going on. There've been some good games this year so far. Seahawks are looking strong. Where were we at? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Going to the bar, and I was asking.
Oh yes.
Football. So you're going to the bar, watch.
So yeah. So I think, and it was the worst. Like it sucked, and I have escaped to the bathroom of the bar when all my friends were there drinking and cried and called. I didn't have sober friends that I could call, but I had friends, that I could call, just girlfriends. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. This sucks. There were times that I would just drive home, or take an Uber home because I just didn't feel like I could be in that situation and not have a drink. But knowing that I could be there and sit and watch the whole game and not have one was a really valuable thing for me. Instead of saying like, I need to run and hide because I'm not strong enough to do this, but saying, you know what, forget this. I love football. I like all these people here. I'm going to sit at the bar where I would normally sit. I'm going to order a soda water with lime. I'm going to cheers everybody. And my boyfriend, Josh, is really sweet and will always get me a shot of water when everybody's doing shots.
That's
which
cool.
It's a little hard at times because I'm like, well, this is still kind of feels like that old motion, but the considerate aspect of it totally makes up for, how awkward it is for me. Just the fact that he's thinking about me in that way of like, hey, I still want you to participate even though you're not going to get drunk with us.
A good guy.
Totally. The best. So like he'll get 4 shots of tequila and 1 shot of water, and we'll just make sure
we're
you
don't feel stupid not having something.
Totally. And everybody will cheers, like
Diet Coke or something like that. I don't think I've ever thought of that. It's always been like I got my Diet Coke or something.
Totally.
It's always a little bit different. So
yes,
that's pretty
exactly.
That's,
so just having that way of like sort of still participating and feeling like, and my life has completely changed. I'm so introverted. I don't really like hanging out with people without drinking. And I'm fine with that now. I have a great life. I have a great, fulfilling life. I love to cook. I love to hang out with Josh and my cats and my cat and my dogs and work out and, keep house. And when I'm on the road, I have a full schedule of interviews and workshops and shows and everything else in between. So
I don't think I got an answer to the deep question though. Like I was saying,
okay.
What is, because I probably chased a rabbit or a squirrel down a few, but like, so what is, if it's not like, hey, I want to be a great guitarist and just have a big Instagram, like, what is it for you? Like, or do you think like, I want to be a mom, you said, I want to be a wife? Like what's like the deepest kind of thing that you're thinking, like, because you're obviously driven, I would think. I mean, you're awesome in so many ways. So like,
Yeah, I think we did kind of get there because the thing that I wanted to do was break those stereotypes about my scene, about women in music and
cool.
musicians in recovery.
And that kind of leads me almost to one of my other, I always ask people like, why did you agree to do this, to do the interview? Is it for kind of a one single person might help type of approach, or what goes through your mind typically?
You mean specifically about talking about recovery?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm always really happy to talk about this experience, especially because I don't know if maybe it's because I didn't go through a traditional program, but I've never really been like I guess really a part of the recovery community. Even though I'm in recovery myself, I've never really been like interviewed about it or featured about it or anything like that.
Wow.
So it's exciting for me to get to share this part of my story, because I've talked about it a lot, but it's always in the context of something else. You know, I'll be interviewed by a music magazine and talk about what it's like to be sober on the road, or I'll be interviewed by a fitness magazine and talk about what it's
Like
like
the
to be
opposite.
sober and fit. But this is now a sobriety interview talking about what it's like to be sober in music, and
Like
so it's like a fun juxtaposition for me.
I like, oh, good word, juxtaposition. I like but 5 years is really like legit. So is this, I guess the main question is like, is there a going back, or is it like caterpillar to butterfly?
Oh, I don't feel any desire to go back now. You know, of course you still, every once in a while, I think every single person in recovery will feel that like, man, that would be fun, you know, or, you know, maybe that would be relaxing,
Especially
or,
when you
you know,
talk about
whatever
some pretty
else.
wild times, you know, people will ask
Yeah,
about things. You forget all of the really bad things, but there's some wild ass things that were just freaking hilarious. And quite honestly, they're pretty fun at the time when I was 18 or 20 or 22.
sure.
But when you're 40 or 50, it's just not cool anymore, man. You know,
Totally. And, you know, especially as a girl in music, you know, I don't ever want to be like that tacky party girl in the band, you know, and there's a lot of people that, and I was, you know, I was the, you know, the hard drinking rock girl for a long time. And now, you know, I'm going to be 34 soon. You know, you know, I hope someday in the near future, going to be a mother and going to be a wife, and I'll still be a musician. I'll still be on tour. I'll still have, you know, my cool day job, but I don't want to be like, oh, mom's at the wine again, you know, like I just don't see that in my future. I'd rather keep on where I'm at. And the amount of people that I've been able to, you know, you talk about changing one person's life, the amount of lives that I've had the immense privilege to change just by sharing my own sobriety, and people saying, well, if you can do it on tour, then I can do it at home. You know, if you can do it in this crazy
that's pretty
situation, then I can do
gratifying,
it
isn't it?
with my sponsor. That keeps me on track, because, you know, I almost feel this responsibility that if I slip, then it's going to set off this chain reaction of everybody that was looking up to me slipping. So
That's pretty
I feel
gratifying.
great about it.
That's pretty gratifying. What role do you feel like service has in your life in terms of like giving back and that kind of thing? Do
I
you
think
find that also has
my
to do with
kitten
your
is being
mental health?
crazy right
Yeah,
now.
we've got two cats, so I get it. Yeah.
I
And
think
cats, I think, by the way, are actually insane. I think literally cats are actually crazy.
this one is for sure. She's a handful. She was a foster and we foster failed. And now it's literally when I'm doing interviews or Zoom calls, she just comes up and chews on me.
Yeah.
You see this? She's like legitimately just chewing on me. So as far as service and being of service to the community, I think it's everything.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely everything. I think it's our responsibility, as you know, as somebody with an ability to, you know, to spread awareness and spread positivity in this world. I think if you don't do that, you're an asshole. Like if you don't do that, you're not making the most with what you've been given. And
Totally.
so I try to do that with, you know, with my social media feed, you know, with just keeping everything positive, keeping everything supportive and constructive and happy. I do it with the Body Shred program. I do it with my guitar lessons. And by the way, I know we talked about how awesome music is and learning how to play music. So I would love to give your audience a discount on that course. If anybody would like
Cool.
to use it,
Bring it.
the website is iwanttoPlayGuitar.com, which is super easy to
I
remember.
want to play guitar. You own I want to play guitar.
iwanttoPlayGuitar.com
How
is
the
my
hell did
course.
I get that? Damn.
I know. I told you, doors started opening.
That's a good
But
one.
if they use the code recovery today, they'll get 50% off the course,
Right
half
on.
off, access for life, one-time payment. And so if anyone's looking for a hobby to get them through quarantine and keep them from drinking, please let me be of service
So
to you.
cool. We will put that actually in the feature because it's kind of like a podcast, and then there's a whole bunch of articles and whatnot around it, and that's really, really cool. I
My
guess the
pleasure.
last question I have for you is, and maybe it's kind of even in a two-part, just to kind of get a peek inside, is like, who inspires you? You mentioned the book Atomic Habits. I think I read. I don't know if I even read all of it, honestly. I might have listened to some of it on audiobook. I really want to be very much more disciplined, but
Oh, you got to finish it. It's so good.
Okay, I will. I have it. I know I have the book and I have it on audio. So I'll just,
There you go.
it's a matter of actually finishing things that you start. But um, who inspires you the most?
I
Or
think
who are some of the people that inspire you the most? Maybe to make it a little easier.
in my personal life, I'm inspired every day by my boyfriend and my parents, who have set amazing examples for me to follow, and my little sister. I'm very, very, very thankful to have such a great, close family around me. And they believe in me a lot of the time more than I believe in myself. And I feel like I would never let them down. And that's sort of what keeps me going. And um, outside of my immediate circle, of course, Atomic Habits was a game changer. There's also another book called The Obstacle is the Way, which
I
was,
know that one. The obstacle is away.
yes, by Ryan Holiday. That was a huge, huge game changer for me. It's basically taking the principles of Stoicism and applying it to modern day life.
Okay,
And
you got to actually break down Stoicism just a minute for me. So, sorry. Break
it's
it.
fine. I'm actually I have to get to another call myself. But if you guys, if you or any of your listeners are interested in learning more about this principle, The Obstacle is the Way is an amazing introduction to it. He's got 3 books that I would recommend. It's The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and Stillness is the Key.
Love it. Where can people connect with you besides what was it again? I want to learn to play
I
guitar.
want to play guitar.com.
Where else do they get? I know that you're on Instagram, so you're Nita Hurricane. What is it on Instagram?
I'm Hurricane Nita on all social media platforms. That's Hurricane like the storm, Nita. I'm that on Instagram and Facebook. I'm Nita Strauss. Very easy to find.
Thanks for taking a minute to jump on. It was really cool. It was great to meet you, and I'm looking forward to following you more. And everybody can get back. We'll have all the information in here. This has been an exclusive interview with Nita Strauss. Thanks a ton.
Thank you so much.